Okay, we're going to remove ourselves from all these different talks about this, that, and the next thing, so we can focus on what we're going to talk about now, and that is you and me. And a lot of people are wondering how long this shit is going to go on for. I'm not talking about COVID-19. I'm talking about the tyranny of the regulators. Stephen King, the author, who wrote under the pen name Richard Bachman, wrote a book called The Regulators, and it was all a bunch of nasty little demonics who regulated the regular people. And what we've learned from COVID-19 is that we on planet Earth are run by regulators. Those are so what do we really want to know? What did we get the lesson yet? Part of the lesson is when you well, there's so many lessons, but the main lesson keeps coming back time and time again, and that is that we are unable to be free. Today, my little niece went to get her first driver's license at age 16, and she stood in line multiple times to fill out all the forms and go through all the rigmarole it takes to become licensed to drive. She brought her passport, and it wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough to identify her. She was told she has got to get someone from a certain list of occupations to guarantee that she is who she says she is. Well, I know when you get a Canadian passport, you have to have one of these kind of people, but she's already got a Canadian passport. How many times do you have to go through this garbage? Why is it that certain occupations on the scheduled list, these particular occupations are okay to certify you are you, but me, I'm not good enough? Why is it that I'm not good enough? Why is it that it's just ultimately some stupid asshole wrote it down, stamped it, and it became the law of the land? How long is this going to keep up? Many people, it's just the way it is, and we're just going to live with it. I'm not one of those people. I'm one of the people saying, change this fucking shitty system. Get rid of these regulators. Get rid of all of this red tape. And this is not the first time. President Ronald Reagan was all about getting rid of red tape. Now, he wasn't the president of Canada where I live, but, we had conservative governments who said we're going to get rid of red tape, and they didn't do it. Because in the end, once you get into government and power, you don't really want to get rid of anything at all. You just want to continue to build your empire and enslave the people. So once again, I'm going to call for a revolution, and it's going to fall on deaf ears because generally speaking, you put up with the regulations and the garbages, and then, you go for a bike ride and you don't worry about it so much. Well, this is just the problem, and this is the solution. Pretty much all of us are trained to not really speak up about it, I've been watching this show on Netflix, Cobra Kai. And it's a TV show based upon the old Karate Kid movies. And one of the high schoolers is one of these typical people. It's basically there's bullies everywhere, and it's going to be, I'm going to run away. And it doesn't matter that my friend is being hassled by these bullies. I'm not strong enough to really help. I can't fight the bullies, so I'm going to run away. And this is the way that everyone is going with all of this tyranny. I'm not able, and I'm not capable, and I really don't want to fight the regulators. I just want to run away, and if they capture me, I'm just going to surrender. It's like the Borg, you know? Resistance is futile. People don't even try. Everyone agrees resistance is futile, so they don't bother. So what does it mean? It means there's no heroes on planet Earth. We have, again and again, I keep bringing it up, and maybe you've heard it and you're sick of it, but we're sheeple. We're a bunch of sheeple, and we're being herded by the wolves. What is it going to take to get the revolution? I always say we need a lot of people in every city and town at 8 o'clock nighttime to go up and down their street banging pots and pans. It's been used somewhere, maybe it was France. But the thing is, it's a non-violent protest, but it can be heard everywhere. And you go out at 8 o'clock at night and you bang pots and pans, what are the police going to say? Well, if it's you by yourself, you know, they might say you're causing a disturbance. But if everybody on your street goes up and down the street banging pots and pans, what are they going to do? Bring in the riot police because you're banging pots and pans? You know, and once you do it on your street and everyone on your street's doing it and everybody in your neighborhood, and it spreads. What are we asking for? Well, this is also a problem because everyone's got their own idea about things, you know. Me, I want to have freedom for people. But there's a lot of people who are quite comfortable in our over-regulated society because maybe they've got a job where they're the ones checking on all this ID that you need in order to get a driver's license. And they're, you know, so they have a vested interest in keeping all this crap going. And there's other people that are, you know, freedom sounds good until the rubber hits the road. And then they see, well, you know, I didn't consider this. You know, it's basically freedom versus my security. And I prefer security to freedom. There's a lot of human beings that are in this group. Security, whatever kind of promised security is, I'd rather have my promised security than freedom. A lot of voluntary slavery on planet Earth. So I don't expect I'm going to get my revolution. I expect more and more regulations, more and more collapsing of stuff. Like with COVID, we've had a massive collapse in small business. What else are we going to have? Well, enormous government debt really grew during COVID because, you know, the economy shrunk, tax revenue was way down, and spending was way up. Who's going to pay for all of this? Well, the people who are for security don't care. We have to have it. I just walked underneath a bridge and it said defund the police. It was somebody who was part of that group. We have got too many different agendas. So what happens? It's always going to be divide and conquer. And who's going to win? Well, the meme keeps going around on Instagram. The people who really won during this thing, COVID, were the uber rich. The uber rich were the ones who made lots of money. The first thing that happened under COVID-19 was a massive stock market crash, the biggest since 1929. And then we saw the stock market come and make up all of its losses. Well, I'm not in the stock market, and you know, who's really in there? It's going to be somebody who has a lot of money. And someone, you know, bought low and sold high or something. It wasn't me, babe. But we saw that. Maybe a lot of people didn't see that. I think a lot of people just tune out. You know, they're not acting like detectives at the local police force to see, you know, who benefits from this. But that's number one, people playing the stock market, and it's not, you know, the guy in the house behind you over the fence. These are people with enormous amounts of money. Again, it's the billionaires. Who else wins? Big pharmaceutical companies lining up to get governments to buy their unproven vaccines. Looking at a huge windfall, billions of dollars added to government debt to buy these unproven vaccines. So there's a huge amount of people who are benefiting. Well, not a huge amount of people, but I don't know. I guess I've come to the end of my talk. My call for revolution will fall on deaf ears. And tomorrow, you know, they'll still be lining up at the driver's license plate. It just reminds me so much of what we were told communism was all about. We were told communist Russia, the Soviet Union, was all about enormous lineups to get stamps from bureaucrats so you could do anything. So, you know, Western countries were supposed to be free. We're not free. We've got horrible communism here under the guise of free countries. We're not free. We have got bureaucracy like the Soviet Union. And we don't have the same amount of goods that we used to have in the open market. I know people that go to 3 grocery stores looking for a particular item. I mean, somebody said to me yesterday, well, I mean, you go into the grocery store, there's food. You won't starve. That's right. You won't starve. But compared to pre-COVID, there is not the same selection of goods. Some things are always out. Why? More and more, this is what Soviet Russia was all about. After you line up and you finally get into the Russian supermarket, you buy whatever's there. But the stores are basically, they're not full stocked. And that's the way it is here. What's the whole point of this? Again and again, there is never going to be you and me sitting across the table discussing this. This is why I do these long talks, because even when I was talking to somebody yesterday for half an hour, I don't get my points in. I don't get my points in. I have to listen for about 20 minutes to the other person talk, No solutions and no insight into it all. It's just, I gotta listen, see where they're at, and then, respond. And pretty much I cannot present the whole presentation of how fucked we are in 7 minutes. I can't do it. There's too much stuff that has to be talked about. And so, the opportunity to help wake people up just doesn't come, because people have already got blah, blah, blah. They're running their mouth. Metaphysical teacher Chris Krepsick at thehoodedsage.com, that's exactly what he said a long time ago. People just want to run their mouth. What does run your mouth means? It just means you just start blabbing and blabbing and blabbing and blabbing. And what did you say at the end of your big talk? Nothing. Nothing that hasn't been said before. You're just one of the drones in the matrix. Someone might say, you talk a lot and blab and run your mouth. The answer keeps coming up. Insufficient data to tell you that I know it. And I don't have 6 billion people watching what I have to say. So what's the whole point? It's pretty much me releasing hot air because I have to let it out. Because if it stays inside of me, then I think it's going to make me sick. In any event, if you have stayed this long listening to this, I'm going to remind you, you and I cannot make a revolution. You and I are pretty much impotent.